Hey YouTube, I hope you're doing well. I've got a cool lesson for you today. We're going to play in the key of G minor today. It's a key that I feel is quite criminally underused on the guitar. I think it's a wonderful key and it's quite rare for people to play an open G minor. You might know the G minor chord like this. It's basically a 3rd fret minor chord. I've always thought that was a great sound just like that, but actually today what we're going to do is this kind of thing. There's a G string on your guitar, and a D string. Those are two of the most important notes in that G chord because you've got the root note and the 5th note. The root and the 5th are neither major nor minor, so that's just a nice kind of solid, neutral sound. If we bring in our B string, it becomes a G major chord. Those 3 strings, just like that, is a G major chord. That's useful and interesting on its own, but today I want to take you to the wild world of G, more like a kind of Spanish thing. So we will be touching on minor, but we'll also be touching on major, and we'll be making it a bit dissonant, a bit dark to give it that Spanish guitar flavor that my channel is basically based on. We're going to fret a G note at the 3rd fret of the low E string. By the way, tabs for this lesson will be on Patreon, so I'm going to explain to you here. If you want to get a copy of things written out, or some of the things written out, Patreon's the place to go for that. 3rd fret of the low E string, that's a G note, that's going to be our root note. And throughout today's lesson we're going to cycle through that D string and that G string. So that's kind of cool on its own. I'm going thumb, 1st finger, 2nd finger. You can use a pick as well. I sometimes do this kind of thing with the pick. And for sure, don't just copy for example, my picking patterns, make your own. So I might be going, because that's a nice simple way to show you guys how things work, but you might go, or whatever, you do whatever you want. I want you to change this stuff around. This is just the guidelines. This is just the blueprint. Where it gets fun immediately is when we play the 4th fret low note. That to me is just a beautiful dissonance. That's the 4th fret of the low string, a G sharp note. So we're contrasting a G sharp with a G. Music theory would tell us that sounds very dissonant, very awful basically, and it does, but in such a cool way. So that's a real Spanish guitar sound. They'll do that a lot. They'll take a major or minor chord, or a 5th in this case, move the root note 1 fret higher, and it becomes pretty gangster. We can go up to the 6th fret. In that case, I'm just alternating between 3, 4, and 6. 3, 4, and 7 will give you an even more Spanish sound. I love that kind of sound. It's going to go well with the G major chord. The reason it goes well with the G major chord is because that 7th fret note of the low string is a B note. B is the major 3rd of G, so it's a G. But rather than being a kind of happy, open, airy G major chord like we're used to, because we've heard this G sharp note, which is such a hallmark of Spanish and flamenco guitar, it's taking us into what we call a Phrygian mode, or a Phrygian dominant. Basically that 4th fret note, the ugly note, allows the major note to bring nice colour in without sounding all happy. And because in Spanish guitar it's quite rare to sound happy, it's generally an aim to sound nice and dark, and I've learned so much from flamenco guitarists, like these insane, dark, twisted kind of harmonies, and this is kind of one of them. This is a very basic example. Once you're at the 7th, you might as well go to the 8th. That's a cool sound. 8, 7, 4, 3. Yeah, 8. Was that the 8th? 10. 8, 10, 8, 7, 4, 3. Then there's just the G major chord there. I might wrap it up for that. I think that's just a little bite-sized lesson. There's plenty there to get you going. One last little thing. When you do the G chord, you can chuck a G sharp note either there guess. I don't do that one as much. Something like that, but that's a good one. Just keep bringing that G sharp note there. That's the 6th fret of the 4th string, then the 5th fret. Something like that. Thank you for watching. Tabs are up on Patreon. Thank you to my new Patreons. I'm really grateful for that. That's really, really cool. Leave me a comment. How are you going with your guitar playing? How am I going teaching you something that hopefully is useful? And like I always say, now it's time to turn off YouTube, pick up your guitar, and go and practice.